Hello there, and welcome back to Sonic Heroes. You can just call me Stent. Last time we went through Team Sonic's playthrough, as I got a bit more accustomed to playing this game again. And, before we get into the meat of things, there's one thing which I completely glossed over last time, which I thought would have been appropriate. The intro, because of course, this was the time before games like Forces and Frontiers where Sonic games actually had intros, so we might as well have a look at this one. Like, even before, back when I was a kid, just watching this was just one of those things that really got me hyped for the game. It really gave like this highly energetic, like, anime opening sort of vibe, which, needless to say, especially with the incredibly cheesy backing track, it's still one of those things which, despite everything about this game, still brings a big smile to my face. This really gets you in the mood for just... It also really makes this game feel a lot bigger than it might seem like it is, with just basically 4 sets of what are basically near identical characters going for the same 14 stages, but look at all this high energy cool stuff that they're doing. I'd love to see this sort of thing, this sort of energy in the games, but instead we get somber, sad stuff like Frontiers, and oh yeah, now we have metal. I will admit, before getting Heroes, I did watch the old ADV dub of the OVA, and just seeing metal again in this cool fashion. Oh yeah, I got the the Japanese version of that particular cutscene as part of the mod. Probably should have considered getting rid of that part in particular. I'll go back and probably do that at a later point, but yeah. No news shocker, Metal Sonic is a big part of this game, and seeing him with that awesome sort of glow up at the end really got me hyped to see him again, even if it did take me a while given how this game is slayed out. Anyways, you've probably seen the thumbnail and the title, so needless to say, we're going to be tackling Team Chaotix next, mostly because, whilst I do love these free Gobers and would kind of want to see them get the respect they deserve, especially after being basically shafted for basically every game since this, they do technically have the worst campaign in quotations in the game, so we may as well get it out of the way. Which is a shame, because people have all been complaining about the comedy in the more recent, well, more specifically the 2010 games, when ironically I'd say these 3 goobers were set up perfectly to be basically the series' comic relief. In a similar everyman sort of way to Big, really, where, you know, we got all these superpowered heroes, and then you just got these 3 goobers here who are just trying to pay rent. Yeah, you heard about the more recent games, SBO? Apparently money still exists now. We gotta get out there and make some moolah. Yeah, apparently that's my Vector voice. Yeah, I can certainly see this not getting old pretty much immediately. What do you think, SBO? Yeah, good talk. Anyways, yeah. Needless to say, I'm not exactly a big... Alright, off to a good start immediately. I was gonna say that one particular crab there at the beginning can be the one which you can just spend hours and hours just trying to scour the level to find, but yeah, may as well get that one out of the way first. Now, of course, we immediately get to see the main one of the main mechanics of the Chaotix levels, the flowers, which a unique thing for Charmy. Basically, it's their way of allowing you to skip around various parts of the level which aren't exactly conducive for gathering collectibles. On one hand, it's nice how you can sort of truncate various parts of the levels to make some shorter, but given the nature of some of their levels, that very rarely ends up actually being the case. I'm fairly certain I've already missed a few, but thankfully we're only going for half the total crabs in this level, because needless to say, I kind of got it drilled into me recently trying to get the extra mission for this level, which is all 20 hermit crabs. It's needless to say, the Chaotix version of this level has sort of become a meme of it itself, just the asinine nature of the task at hand here. It's like... Actually, I'll probably not spoil the story details about this too much, because technically speaking, the Chaotix do get the most interesting little story beat here compared to a lot of the cast. I mean, we already know from Team Sonic that Metal Sonic's involved in some way, so guess we'll just have to see what sort of plot details lie in wait for us with the rest of the cast. Anyways, I think... yeah. First level over with basically immediately. Suppose that's the thing about these levels. Once you actually know where all the stuff is, they can go by quite quickly, which is also a argument that you could levy against the other game which has mission and level design of this caliber, that of course being its younger brother, Shadow the Hedgehog. Needless to say, still not exactly the... okay, I guess I just gotta sneak by these fellas. I'll talk about Espio's little ability a little bit later. Oh yeah, I was talking about Shadow's level design. It seems kind of bizarre to me that that's the way they go with it. Basically just... I mean, I get that Shadow the Hedgehog was notoriously kind of rushed, basically being released a year after Heroes. More or less. Given a little bit of leeway, but... I'm also thinking of just the sheer lack of time between releases. You can sort of tell that they had to use a lot of stuff from Heroes. It's kind of obvious from the fact that they basically reused all the models. The only one that they didn't go with being Rouge, weirdly enough. Especially given how they just tried to give her old outfit, but it just looks super, super weird in my opinion. Kind of feel I should hold off the Shadow the Hedgehog comparisons for Team Dark, however, but generally speaking, it will probably be a while before I get to Shadow the Hedgehog on stream, mostly because it's not a game I exactly have many fond memories of, unfortunately. But regardless to say, the fact that they basically saw the level design layouts in this game and thought, yeah, those were fine. Still to this day kind of baffles me, especially given some of the potential other ways people have pointed out how that game could have been structured better, but I suppose for the time being we may as well stick to this game. And honestly, in terms of levels, I think generally this one is one of the better ones. For a very simple reason that it's basically just a normal level, except truncated a lot. Well, I actually might be able to get the first Chaos Emerald here if I'm lucky. Anyways, yeah, SBO's little tornado attack. One little thing that I do kind of like about this game with the teams is that they do actually try to make them different in various ways. Like, obviously you got Vector here, who differs from Knuckles in that he doesn't punch, he just launches his teammates out of his mouth and then does his little Dragon Breath attack. I'm not entirely certain as to whether or not a tier list exists for all the various characters and what they do, but in terms of the power type characters, I think Vector might, in my opinion at least, be the best one. Generally, the projectile type power type characters are the better ones, mostly because you don't have to worry about just falling off of the edge of platforms into bottomless pits a lot of the time. And Vectors, I think at the very least, come out faster than Biggs. I know that Biggs' finisher where he swings his pole around is definitely a lot slower, so I think in general terms of dealing out damage, which you want a power type character to do, I think Vector might be the strongest. Don't quote me on that though. As for SBO, he's, in terms of speed characters, he's definitely a bit of an oddball. Mostly when it comes to his tornado attack. Sonic and Shadows are basically just mirrors of one another, so they're basically the same. They have a nice little tech with how you can use them for jumps. Amy's, given the lack of utility, is at least good in the prospect that it's projectile, so even despite being a mobile while in air, you're at the very... He said the thing about the funny show, which has been ruined. Anyways, yeah, Amy's, well, it's slightly worse, I'd say, in the fact that you're basically open to attack whilst you're in the air. At the very least, you're less open to attack compared to SPO, mostly because of Amy's tornado attack at least being a projectile. SPO's, as a tornado attack, it's definitely the worst in the game, but at the very least it does sort of make up for it with the utility of it. Also, yeah, now we also get to see Vector make instant work of the Hedgehog just like Knuckles did. I think the projectile characters like Big and Vector might have a better... Never mind. I was gonna say they have an easier time with this because of their body slams, but I think Knuckles technically might have the highest damage of any power type characters, which, I mean, makes sense because it's... Knuckles is supposed to be as strong as Sonic is fast. But mostly in terms of actually playing the game, his punch combo is more likely to just get you killed than anything. But at least he has his little button mashing punch combo, unlike Omega. I'm pretty sure Omega would definitely be considered the worst power type character in the game. He doesn't have the belly. There he is, gotta pay rent. Yeah, Omega doesn't have the body slam, he doesn't have the punch combo like Knuckles does, he's just basically a worse version of Knuckles in that respect, and I guess at the very least he does have a fairly good AoE. Arguably one of the best, but you're still more likely to get yourself falling off the cliff, falling off the platform before you're actually able to get to it, though. Anyways, here of course we come to another hallmark of Shadow the Hedgehog mission design. Hunt down every single enemy in the level and destroy them. I don't think it's quite as bad here, mostly because it's only one level. feel in Shadow would have been better. It was just like, at the very least, beat the level having defeated X number of enemies from X faction, like say for Westopolis. Instead of hunting down every single Black Arm soldier or gun soldier in the city, you just say beat the level having defeated, say, 25 Black Arm soldiers and maybe 20 gun soldiers. So it's still something you have to sort of go out your way for, but it's not a complete chore trying to hunt down every single enemy in the level, if that makes sense. You can only hope we aren't going to have the exact same issue here, because one little plus at the very least Shadow the Hedgehog has is that you can warp between checkpoints. You can't do that here. You miss one enemy, you gotta go all the way back through each level until you find the one robot which you missed, which, yeah, you can quickly see as to why Team Chaotix's missions aren't exactly the most well-loved. Pretty sure there was also some robots here which are hiding behind all these crates. Let me just get rid of these with there. Well, it's definitely the most comedic Team Blast in the game, just popping out a cacophony of noise. I think it might actually be one of the better ones though, mostly because of how the ring system works. Look at that! I already got Team Blast back already. And that's the main thing, is that it's also a nice little thing about the Team Blast, really. They all have their different sort of utilities. I generally say that Team Sonic's is the worst one, mostly because their utility is fairly situational with the light speed attack. I mean, it's powerful, in which is basically another Team Blast, but much like the light speed attack in the adventure games, it can be quite temperamental and somewhat unreliable. Chaos Inferno just being able to stop time, it's at the very least fairly useful for stuff like time trials, even though it can sort of leave you just sort of standing there awkwardly waiting for more enemies to spawn or other aspects of the level you need to progress. Team Roses obviously is kind of intentionally busted, in which it basically just gives you free invincibility, free shield, and a free level up for each character. It's very easily, you can very easily tell it's the easy mode Team Blast, but Team Chaotix's is mostly just you get money for each enemy you destroy. And actually, I don't think we need to use the cannon for this. Hold on. There we go. We're gonna see a fair few cannon shenanigans with these three. The nice little thing about the Team Blast though is that rings count towards actually getting your Team Blast meter back, I believe. So, assuming you defeat a large number of enemies with your Team Blast, you can basically get it back instantly without having to resort to the exploit, which I failed to showcase last time. I think it's easier to showcase off with Team Sonic. Also, it would probably help if I didn't have a full meter already. Basically, how it works is you're supposed to hit the action button whilst in fly formation, whilst at the same time switching to another form. The more reliable one, I think, being power formation. And that way you just end up... The game thinks you're spamming Thundershoot a lot and your Team Blast meter goes up a whole bunch. Needless to say, it's more useful, especially in later levels where you kind of want a fair few Team Blasts, like levels like Mystic Mansion. Surprisingly enough, I don't think we've missed a single robot on our way here, which, given my track record, is kind of surprising. Also, if you couldn't tell, I still kind of have a sniffle. Oh. Looks like I spoke too soon. Gonna have to scour the whole level just to find a single robot. Oh, never mind. Spoke too soon. Squared. Could have sworn there were only two there. Oh well. Not that I'm complaining, this is just getting through this a fair bit quicker than I was anticipating. And oh yeah, I forgot that stage 1 of these also had their own little special stage, which I think are mostly supposed to be practice for the Act 2 special stages. It's the same layout, I believe. It's mostly just has some different stuff in it, like all these springs and formation gates, just to indicate, oh, you should probably switch to this formation to deal with this set of spheres. Like, obviously, the tube. The ones lined up in freeze, you go for power. The ones lined up in twos, you go for speed. Ones which are basically just like blocks, you go for flying. Though in most cases, unless you're specifically going for points when it comes to the Emerald challenges, you're mostly just sticking to speed. Especially given how sluggish the fly formation can feel. Oh yeah, we also get to see the chows here for representation, I guess. It's just so weird that the hero chow seemingly just gets shafted all the time. It's like you got the normal chow, which is the marketable one, you got the dark chow, which is the evil marketable one, and then there's just the hero chow, which is just not here. Part of me can't help but wonder whether or not they're the same chows from the walkers from Adventure 2's multiplayer, but might be grasping a little there. Anyways, power plants. This is what I was talking about last time when I thought the gold turtle robot showed up in this level. It's only for Team Chaotix, I think, and maybe Team Dark for reasons we'll get into. I think in terms of new enemies this level brings, the only one which really comes to mind is these green lightning flying pawns. I forgot to go and research the name for those, but that's basically what they are, just flying versions of egg pawns. And this level just introduces the green ones, which shoot lightning out of their butts. Needless to say, as long as you keep your distance, they are fairly easy to take down. Just when I had a team blast normally at this point. Let's see if there's any... Okay, will just delete you now. A whole 10 rings for that, wow. So, admittedly, while I was away, I had a fairly interesting thought with regards to characters like the Chaotix, which is the fact that if you're just getting into the series, say for example from the movies, if you're just going off of games which are readily available in places like Steam, and you don't just go dumpster diving for the older games, or trying to get them through less credible means, the Chaotix do kind of sort of appear out of nowhere, don't we? Because if you're just going off of, say for example, Sonic games which you can only get on Steam, the first appearance of the Chaotix is just like Sonic Generations, where alongside Silver and Blaze they just appear out of nowhere and you're expected to know who they are, and it's just... If you're coming into the series fresh and you're just going off of games off of Steam, you have no idea who these guys are. Just appears these guys you're apparently supposed to care about, and all they do is just act as cheerleaders for Sonic in the background along with the rest of the cast. It's just... Generally speaking, their representation through the later assets of the series has been notably weak, fairly infamously in Forces, where they're just sort of there, occasionally talking to you over comms. Which is kind of a shame, because admittedly, in terms of interpretations of the Chaotix, my personal favorite, at least at this point, would still be how they act in Sonic X, which is obviously based off of this, but they're sort of allowed to be super comedic, and it's just... I think most people who watched X back in the day can sort of agree that the Chaotix episodes were generally some of the funniest the show had to provide. Like, especially that one episode in the Maverick Saga where they just convert their detective agency into a bar in order to pay for parts. And then Eggman comes in, he's just like... he just wants to order a drink and nobody gives him the time of day. And when they finally give him a drink, it's like, I think it's like a whiskey, and he just puts a raw egg into it. I miss that kind of energy from the series, man, as opposed to like IDW, where it's just a miserable nightmare of everyone just sort of trying and being tormented all the time. I'm not entirely certain as to whether or not I want to get some more into IDW discussions, because the more I've seen, the more I'm likely to just make people mad when I talk about it. Just... I suppose a good way of summarizing it is that I find it relatable in the fact that it wants to say something, but doesn't actually have anything to say, which, well, that's basically most of my streams. I'm joking, of course. It's a pleasure to have you all here when you're here. But then again, case in point, isn't it? Because right now I'm just here going through basically levels which we've already been through. I'm fairly certain I missed a gold turtle in here. It seems like the sort of place there would be one. Down here, for instance? Maybe not. This definitely seems like the sort of place a gold turtle would be, though, wouldn't it? So, where could it possibly be? Or am I just thinking too hard about this? Seems like there might be one down here. I may as well just use this. Suppose I may as well talk a little bit more about Sonic X, though. Admittedly, growing up, the only episodes I really had access to were basically the first arc of the 4Kids dub. So for the longest time I didn't really get to see a lot of stuff like the Adventure 1 and 2 adaptation, a lot of the Egg Moon stuff, the Menrex Saga especially, which I know is sort of widely considered to be the highlights of the entire series. I did of course end up being able to see it on the internet later on, but okay, it seems as though there's something down here. Oh, okay. Not sure if these have the switches to that, oh, they do. So that's how you're supposed to unlock that gold tortoise if you don't have the Team Blast up already. Learn something new every day, it seems. I will definitely admit that Sonic X, even at the time, wasn't exactly the direction which I would have wanted the series to go, with, you know, them basically hiding in a rich boy's house. But especially given the art style, which sort of matched what I was playing in like Sonic Advance 2 back in the day. My child brains did still at the very least get a little bit of enjoyment out of it, and what little I've seen since, more recently, it is at the very least entertaining in a so bad it's good kind of way. I would say, personally speaking, my recommendations for watching is obviously Season 3 in Japanese if you just want the good stuff, and I think personally for maximum just ironic enjoyment value, I would probably say the rest of the series with Seasons 1 and 2 especially in English, just to get that maximum cringe, I suppose. There's a juxtaposition with the actual sort of good stuff in Season 3. Hey, the developers said we needed a reason to fight, so we're here to fight you. What's with this broad, Espio? Yeah, we have no idea why we're fighting, but we're gonna fight anyway. Unfortunately, I can't just spam the ever-loving bejesus out of Blue Tornado because, of course, Espio's is worse, so I guess we're just gonna have to, rely on body slams. Or, you know, just do this. Apparently this is supposed to be quite powerful. At least from how the AI in the past has just tried to use this little technique to completely abuse the ever-loving snot out of me. Vector, can you please come back and assist? Yeah, admittedly I kind of forgot how you're supposed to deal with these super quickly if you don't have, like, Blue Tornado. Maybe just continue to spam Leaf Swirl, even though it's not as good. I guess the tornado attack in general is just the way to go. Who would have thunk it? That's a shame. Anyways, now we actually get to the quality casino level. Here we go, gotta collect 200 rings. I think the meta for this would technically be to visit the VIP table, because from what I recall it's actually easy to do so with the Chaotix, but I think for now we're just going to just try to gather up what rings we can and just hope that we get it done in a decent enough time, because needless to say, with these casino controls, pinball controls more specifically, not the biggest fan. Alright, I guess I have no choice but actually try and get up to the slot machine there. Or, you know, just ignore that entirely. There we go. And I got nothing out of it. Typical. I'll be honest though, this does definitely make me miss the slot machine mini game from Sonic 3. Generally speaking, thinking about that again and playing through Sonic 3, that was generally one of the more chill aspects of that game, just being able to, with the music especially, it's just good to sort of quickly unwind from all the action, just have a chill time playing a little bit of pinball. Plus, the payouts were a fair bit more reliable back in Sonic 3. What is kind of weird though is that for the longest time, or at the very least more recently, I've sort of been wondering if this place is actually connected to Grand Metropolis. I mean, they are technically city settings, so it would make sense that this is sort of the nighttime district of Grand Metropolis. And they are right next to each other in the level order, so it only makes sense. I think this might be one of the more reliable slot machines actually coming right up. Because if I can just get into it just right, everyone can get into it at once. And look at that, 30 rings. Worth it. Alright. Oh, oh, so close. Oh, never mind. That level took less time than I was anticipating, thankfully. Look at that. Less than 3 minutes. And making good progress so far. Can't wait for Bullet Station where that all just comes tumbling down. Really gotta stop picking up keys in the first act. This, needless to say, slowing progress down a little bit, but I will say at the very least I do like the music. And the aesthetic definitely just sort of reminds me of the Knights Pinball from Adventure 1, with its more dreamlike aesthetic. I do definitely miss the sort of aesthetic from the series. It just... Generally speaking, I do kind of miss the more down-to-earth sort of realism colliding with the fantastical aspects of the earlier games, as opposed to basically just Whales and Frontiers, or Minecraft in Lost World and Forces. It generally feels for the longest time they've just been going opposite extremes, which... you know, basically sort of the Twitter way of arguing about things, where you say you like pancakes and some will insinuate that you hate waffles as a result. Pretty sure there's the same chow sound effects from Adventure 2 as well. Honestly, it's kind of baffling to me that we haven't got a portable version of the Chow Garden at all, basically, since, like, Advance 2. Okay, so Bingo Highway introduces the jellyfish robots and the yellow flying pawns. I think they're called egg wings. Could be wrong. Anyways, I don't think we have to actually collect a key in this level because we already got the yellow emerald. I will admit it is kind of strange. You would sort of expect Vector to have at least divulged in a place like this, mostly just to try his luck at actually getting some coin. Not sure what's going on with the camera here. Game? Game, what are you doing? Not sure if this is my controller or not, so let me just... Alright, let's switch to Charmy and try again. Not those kind of chips, silly! So yeah, apparently I guess my Vector voice can also double as my Mario voice. It's the Super Mario Bros. Super Show! I'm not sure whether or not I'd want to actually stream some games featuring the man in red at some point, but he thinks it's only inevitable. I'll give it some thought. Oh wow, I didn't actually expect there to be a chip up there. Needless to say, I don't exactly remember the layouts of the Chaotix missions very well for, I think fairly justified reasons. They are definitely the, I'm fairly certain you've already heard my piece on it. Generally speaking, some of the weakest campaign in the game, just... It is kind of a shame, though. I definitely would like to see these characters more. I guess at the very least, considering it is the normal missions, they are at the very least mercifully short in some certain circumstances. Yeah, I think there's a chip over here, just at the very end. There we go. Pretty sure there's a maximum of 20 in this level, if the Hermit Crab mission was anything to go by. I will will also admit I... Oh. Well, I guess I missed that one. I was thinking there might come a time in the future where I do go for like 100% completions, but I will admit it's not exactly a process which I'm particularly looking forward to, especially with some of these games, like 100% completing Shadow the Hedgehog, for instance, with its like 300 endings. Would you want to do that? Play through Shadow the Hedgehog 320 times? That was something I wouldn't. I will say at the very least, the Chaotix does have some good levels. I will admit, Charmy still definitely takes me off guard a little bit. Like, I expect him to be more annoying, and it's just his out-of-pocket comments at times do definitely get a little bit of a chuckle out of me. Which I suppose is what you want, really, isn't it? Just comedic characters actually making you laugh. I think we can just do this here, just to try and get rid of those mini-hawks. Look at that, we're bound to get our Team Blast back in no time. Can I please get that central bit of the string, please? Can you put... Thank you. And look at that, our Team Blast meter's nearly full already. It's already full. Mainly after this, I do kind of want to go back and watch Sonic X again and the OVA. In Japanese, of course, just... you know, to try and get the best experience. Before stream, actually, I did go back and watch the Japanese cutscenes for Final Horizons, and I was admittedly surprised to see that there weren't all that many differences with the characters. More just sort of a direct translation of the English dub, which... I mean, obviously it doesn't have any of the Archie references, but I will admit, especially given the interesting changes the original dub of Frontiers was, it's, for me at the very least, a little bit disappointing. Pretty sure I can just get Team Blast back here for free. Look at all that Wonga. And look at that, we got it back already, wow. Alright, where did that last one go? Oh, never mind. Well, man, it's definitely been a while since I've actually heard the translations for the Chaotix Team Blast song. I know it's basically all of them just singing a whole bunch of different stuff, like Espio divulging in his Chinibu tendencies, with all his ninja stuff, and Charmy just singing about being a big old B and Vector just screaming into the mic. I also forgot how adorable Charmy sounds in the Japanese. Oh yeah. 600 rings! just realized, it's like, you wanted a good place to farm rings, you found it, even though there's no reason to in this game. I will admit, I am having a fair bit of a laugh at this, so far. Alright, Rail Canyon. From my experience, this is definitely one of the more interesting levels, in that it's basically a completely different layout, for the most part, from everyone else who goes for this level, and it is basically just a standard head to the goal level, except with just a different layout which is more puzzle-based, which honestly I can't help but wonder whether or not the chaos would have been better received if they just went through more experimental levels like this, rather than just collect 10 hermit crabs. Like here we actually get like a little bit of a puzzle here, where we actually have to find more of these switches, which for the most part have just been set pieces for Team Sonic. Could have sworn we could have made that. Okay, now we actually get to the proper start of everyone else's Rail Canyon. Right down to making a comment on the views. Ready? There we go. Yeah, it is kind of weird in hindsight how just each team has their own comments at basically the exact same point in the level. It's like, I get it, but at the same time it's definitely something you'd notice a lot more in repeat playthroughs. Pretty sure the extra level for this also has you going through it on a time limit, so generally speaking, I'm pretty sure this level is supposed to be a bit more fast-paced. I say that, well, we'll just see from the layout a little bit later. There's a fairly notable part. Right now, Vector! I've been betrayed! I've never had that happen before to me ever. I didn't touch the jump button or anything. It just... I've never had that happen to me before. What can I say about the PC version, eh? Needless to say, most of my experience with this game is the GameCube version, and well, for streaming, this was the one that was recommended to me, so suppose them's the breaks, we'll just have to bear with it. I mean, hopefully we can avoid that happening again. Let's try Charmy this time, just in case we need to fly. Okay, so we got through just fine that time, no idea what happened. And now here's our main instance of using flowers to teleport. If we can actually get on the flowers proper, and yeah, we'll basically just come out the other side just fine. And this makes you wonder what the point of that was. No idea why those springs are there, to be honest. Just like they're adding level quirks just for the sake of adding level quirks. Like, would it make sense if there was another train coming the other way there, but just springs that just happen to be there and not much else. I could have sworn we were going to hit that robot. That would have been cool. Not sure what's currently there is to say, in all honesty. It's just, for this part of the level, we're just going through the same part that every other character goes through. It's just generally the biggest weakness of this game, the repetition. It is a shame because a lot of these levels are definitely quite cool. Like, this little setup here is still pretty cool in my opinion. Just racing alongside these rhinos. So, still not entirely certain as to this level basically being the genesis of course I miss. Of course I miss. I was gonna say this level basically being the main example of basically entire levels just consisting of 3 lines of rails. Or just rails in general being just a staple of Sonic levels, aside from just this fun thing you sometimes interact with, like in Adventure 2. I suppose you could argue Final Rush in that sense, and would technically be right, but it is kind of crazy just how rail dependent a lot of the series is coming. Especially considering most of the time they're basically just glorified quick-step sections. I think we can make it just fine. There we go. Now we're starting to get to the fairly interesting part. Can we? Guess we won't know if we could actually go over with that booster. We're just here now, and hopefully we're fine. Okay, here comes the divergence. Normally you go up on that platform over there, you take the fan up and continue with all the armored trains. We're not doing that this time. Instead we'll just go behind this armored train, eventually. And find yet another armored train, which Eggman might want to see someone about the train basically being on fire. Like, that's an interesting thing though. How exactly do these trains run? Is it like in Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, where they're just piloted by a badnik, or is it the power cores? Is it steam? Is it diesel? I can imagine Eggman using a whole bunch, like an entire fleet of diesel trains. I suppose it's kind of weird though, just how all of Eggman's robots here just don't have the animals powering them. Like, that was... I know that was definitely a major part of the badniks of old, just the fact that they had animals powering them, and now from Heroes onwards it just seems like they don't. I didn't actually mean to target that rhino car, but just sort of happened to me, I guess. It's one little note which I've definitely noticed over time. It's just... Oh yeah, and the chaotics also have their own unique ending to the level as well. It was a lot shorter than I was anticipating though. And then we just slide into the terminal like that. But yeah, it is definitely weird in my opinion. Just like how the classic series with especially stuff like SAT-AM. There's this whole big environmental push behind the Sonic series, like stuff like Scrap Brain Zone and the general industrialization of places like South Island and West Side Island, and how Eggman's machines generally cause devastation on whatever they touch. It really feels like with, especially them getting rid of the whole animals and robots thing, which I guess they're technically bringing back. I mean, they sort of did with Lost World and then just did nothing with it. The animals in that game were basically just glorified collectibles. But the whole environmental angle of it, which was especially prevalent with the whole Archie SAT-AM continuity, is just gone, and there's not really much else to replace it with. It's one thing that I've also a notion which I've heard more commonly, which I thought was just a me thing about the prospect that Sonic needs more villains in this series, which is definitely something that I've agreed with for a while, just to give us a little bit more variety aside from just stuff like Forces, where Eggman is just the final boss again. And honestly, if Eggman was to get finally retired from the series in Forces, I personally wouldn't have had a problem with that. I mean, obviously how it was handled was really quite weak with how Eggman takes over the world, and yet there's absolutely no Eggman iconography anywhere. Like, obviously it was a budget title, but could you have imagined if they just sort of Eggman-landified a lot of the levels? That could have been pretty fun. Just plaster Eggman's face over absolutely everything, and by the end of the game he's finally defeated and doesn't come back for, at the very least, a while, because frankly speaking, I don't really know what else they could do with Eggman at this point. It's like with Forces, he finally technically achieved his goal of conquering the world and still lost. I've mentioned before that Eggman isn't exactly a credible villain at this point, mostly because he's a loving father now. So I guess they're just gonna have him stick around and still do evil stuff with Sage as a cute mascot, I guess, but generally speaking, it really just feels like with Forces, Eggman has definitely peaked. I mean, you could argue that character-wise he peaked back in Adventure 2, and you'd technically be right. I mean, he's done equally as unhinged things in the IDW continuity, but even then, you could argue he peaked there as well, when the first thing he did when he came out was basically cause a robot zombie apocalypse. Like, sure, it was mostly undone by his ineptitude, but at the same time, he very nearly wiped out the entire populace of the planet. Where can Eggman really go from there? I suppose it's also a fairly big reason as to why people were sort of mad at the news that the end was... Well, this is new. I don't think I've actually entered one of the cannons with the characters in power formation like this. It's usually a lot more snappy and not quite as sluggish. But yeah, that's... The fact that the end could have potentially been an interesting villain that comes back occasionally as sort of this world-ending threat that could have at least led to something new and interesting, but nope, apparently after both versions of Forces, I mean Frontier, sorry, I keep thinking about Forces in terms of bad writing. Apparently after both endings of Frontiers, the end is just gone, so now we're just left with Eggman as the most predominant villain. I mean, you could also argue technically Zavok, but does anyone actually care about Zavok at all? I mean, you could argue that the Zeddy technically have potential, but I've personally yet to see it. Me personally, the Zavok and the Z especially have just been blatantly discount Bowser and Koopalings. Which is probably also why it's gonna be a long time until I ever decide to stream Lost World, because personally, I feel I should probably save this for if I actually ever do stream Lost World, but generally speaking, if I had to sum up that game in one word, I would personally use the word schizophrenic. Mostly with regards to how at odds the writing is with itself, how odds the gameplay is with itself. Generally speaking, Frontiers feels like a game... Frontiers. Lost World feels like a game which generally doesn't know what it wants to be. Oh yeah, and I also forgot to mention about SVO's triangle jump. It's the best in the game that you just stick to the wall and don't fall off at all. Sonic and Shadows is basically the same, and Amy doesn't have one, so I guess she's the worst in that aspect. You heard that, boys? We're getting featured on an episode of Bottom Gear. Isn't it Top Gear? What are you talking about, SBO? No one watches Top Gear anymore. Yeah, I don't know. There's still some fairly decent points on there about more modern videos. Nobody watches Top Gear anymore, SBO. Get with the times. It's all Grand Tour now. But didn't they cancel that? I don't know anymore, SBO. I haven't renewed Amazon Prime in like months. Payment had to go towards the electric bills and all. Besides, all Charmy watches nowadays is Cocomelon. I should probably stop this a bit. Hopefully I can actually manage to get this Chaos on this time, because I'm pretty sure I messed up last time I got it. We'll see. Have a good feeling. Have a good feeling. So close. Come on, I can make it. There we go. Got a little scared there for a little bit. But yeah, we got that Dawn 4 Chaos Emerald. I will be amazed if we actually do manage to get the 7th on stream. What is going on with the textures of those egg pawns? What is going on? Them weapons must be them new experimental looking egg. Oh wait, they're normal now. Forget what I said, SBO. Vector, are you sure you're okay? You don't need like an optician. We can't afford an optician, SBO. We're broke. I mean, it's pretty important though, Vector. Poor eyesight isn't gonna help you with your detective work. Why does she think I took up the plumber job, SBO? We're not racking in nearly enough dough. Is that why you've been hanging around that green mustached fellow? I thought I told you not to mention that, SBO. I mean, how am I going to explain this to Charmy? I don't know where I'm going with this. I do kind of remember having more fond memories of this boss. Mostly, I think, just because of the music, the scale of it, and, well, most of the music. But, I guess I did find the multi-phase aspect of it kind of cool. It is certainly one of the more, interesting bosses, I suppose, since it is technically... I suppose I may as well say this after Superstars especially. I'm personally more a fan of the boss fights which also double act as levels, and I think for that reason my favorite boss fight in the series might actually be Perfect Chaos from Generations. For the exact reason that it's both a boss fight and a level. It has the spectacle, even though it definitely brings power scaling in this series into massive questioning. Let's see, do we fall? No, we don't fall to our deaths. I think we just run up now and defeating with the power of music. Like, it does sort of remind me though, Sonic Underground. It's been absolutely ages since I've seen this show. I know it's like infamously bad, but I do kind of want to go back and see it again just out of sheer curiosity, morbid curiosity. Let me see. Okay, B rank. That's a shame. Good job, boys. We killed a man. And he really seems to be joking us around a lot with this whole wild goose chase. Voldemort? Okay, now here's the other interesting level. Well, one of them. I feel this is definitely one of the better levels, mostly because it actually makes use of the character's skill set. In that, it's a stealth mission. You gotta get through this whole level without being detected by the froggy model from SADMDX. I forget what happens when we actually... Okay, free Team Blast. That'll be useful later. Okay. Off to a good start. It's kind of poetic, isn't it? I missed that I landed on the rail only to fall off when I was making up for the fact that I missed the first time. It's almost poetic in a way. I think, though, we can just skip the Team Blast and just go straight into actually... Vector, you're just standing back on there on the platform and going way ahead of you. Vector! Vector, what do you mean follow your lead? Have fun, SBO! Heh, sucker. Yeah, I don't think, think we could just avoid a lot of the enemies, actually. I know that there was technically the extra mission of Ocean Palace. Find Chow without being detected. I kind of wish we had more levels like this, actually, instead of the collect 10 things. Because I can definitely imagine them actually making this kind of tense. Like, look at all these frogs here. It could have been disastrous. Right, I think we can go over here without invoking the frog's wrath. Oh yeah, this is one thing which I forgot. The flowers here don't necessarily have to be warp flowers. They can instead just grow really large and act as platforms, which is kind of nice. Of course I'm handy, Vector. I'm the only licensed detective in this whole organization. You decided to join me just because you're broke. You don't even do much detective work. I have to do all the work around here. Oh. Well, I guess that's what I get for messing about. Have you ever heard a frog croaking sound so menacing before? Alright, up we go. Right, I'm gonna see if I can actually drop off on the rail this time. What do you even do in this organization, Vector? I can make you into a basketball with my bare hands. How about that? I like them apples. I'm the connections guy, SPO. I'm the guy who actually knows the things. Right, how do we want to deal with this? I'm guessing we just... like that. Yeah, I do kind of find it hilarious, going back to, like, the old, like, classic character, profiles of these guys, like, from Knuckles Chaotix, that apparently SPO was originally the only one who actually was a detective. I mean, obviously, Charmy back then was 16 years old, and now he's, like, de-aged 10 years. Or there could just be the brain damage. It's not exactly, clear. But, come on, can I... Alright, I guess we're just gonna skip these robots then. We're near the end anyway, so... learn to pick your fights, I suppose. Yeah, it's a shame I flubbed up so many times. I felt that run got pretty good near the end. Yep. And now we actually get into a mission which actually sort of leads into something, actually. It's one of the more story-relevant missions for, reasons we'll see later. No idea how exactly Chow are able to thrive in a, forest which is known to have acid rain in it, thanks to these guys. Especially considering Chow Gardens are supposed to be notably, like, pure areas. from what I could tell. And yet, apparently they're just in this jungle. Just... Okay, there's just apparently two right next to one another. Again, not 100% familiar with the whereabouts of each of these collectibles. I'm just sort of using my one brain cell to try and navigate me through to find things. You know how it is. Oh, there was one right there. I do gotta wonder, though. I feel it would be kind of hilarious if they actually did go with the running joke of Vector just having multiple jobs, just trying to pay the bills for the office. And what is happening over there with the pop-in? You see that? Just mushrooms over there phasing in and out of existence. Yeah, so far in terms of collectibles, this mission is actually one of the more relaxed ones. It's kind of crazy how kind of chill this level can be when you're not being terrorized by a giant alligator, which... Still find it weird that Vector has no interaction with that particular set piece. Like, you could have... Is it just like Vector's uncle, which he can't invite to Christmas parties anymore because of his, certain views on the economy or whatever? Like, you can just imagine like a whole bunch of, comedic possibilities with this guy. Oh hey, I didn't actually realize there was a chow just floating here. Come on. Okay. And then there's just the last chow, which is just floating here, nice for grabbing. That went smoother than I was expecting. In fact, this whole playthrough seems to be going by smoother than I was anticipating. I think I have an idea as to what I might be able to do to fill time, though, if we do end up finishing within 2 hours. Jeez, keep in your pants, girl. What are you, like 12? Show me, we're trying to defuse the situation here. Alright, let's see if Amy softlocks me again this time. I don't have the blue tornado to defend on, so I'm just sort of here spamming Leaf Swirl. With this absolutely unhinged music piece. Alright, Amy. Are you gonna be kind to me, or are you gonna be just like Shadow? Come on, go proudly. Oh, splendid. Still no idea what the strategy for facing Team Rose in particular is. It's more just sort of depending on tornado strikes, except because it's SPO, they're worse. Also, wait, are those fake rings? No, they're just normal rings. I thought those were fake rings for a moment there, which wouldn't make sense because neither of them can use fake rings. You're not Team Sonic. Go on, away you go. Away with you! Yeah, it's this again. I'm not taking any chances. I'm restarting. Maybe I should just learn to do that with all the these team fights, just to be absolutely sure I'm not getting like standing here getting soft lock constantly. That's only proving my hypothesis correct. Look at that, 16 seconds. It's a shame I had to kill them with my ninjutsu. Yeah, SBO, that was kind of dark of you. We're really gonna have to... We can barely afford to get the office right now, we're gonna have to pay to go into hiding. You've ruined us, SBO! You've ruined us! I was just doing my job, Vector, just protecting us from the miscreants. How do you mean miscreants? They're just like a bunch of preteens and some weird hobo. I have no idea where I'm going with these bits, I'm sorry. Guess I just want an excuse to do some more funny Vector voice. Oh now, what's going on here? I didn't sign up for any of this nonsense. But I was signing up for just a kooky little job to rescue some guy. Now we're here just defying the laws of physics, defying gravity. I don't know anymore, SBO. Maybe I should have just stuck to the plumbing job. Am I? Yeah. Oh. I think I was a little bit gently stuck there a little bit. Should be fine now. I'm gonna need some strong dad juice after this whole mission. I'm glad at the very least I kept some locked in my desk. Oh, about that, Charmy might have found it. Ah, great. I was wondering why I was acting like a 6-year-old. This is gonna be a long night, SPO. Please just tell me that we're gonna be okay after this. I don't even know what's going on anymore, SBO. Like we're walking through flowers. We're defying gravity, find a whole bunch of robots in a haunted castle. What is my life anymore? Oh yeah, and I remember the incredibly subtle statue there, where it's Eggman on the bottom and at the top it's something else. Very, very subtle. Also, I didn't realize there was actually a key there. I was just using my explorer brain. My explorer brain for when I've been rebranded as hero because apparently the initial premise was deemed too evil. Yeah, you can probably tell I'm not really gonna bother doing the whole Charmy voice because, as you can probably tell, I don't think my voice actually goes that high. from my multiple attempts at doing voiceovers, which, I mean, at least I hope that you tolerate, or at the very least enjoy. I mean, I certainly enjoy doing them. What is my life? Let's be honest. Well, here's something I can actually comprehend. Oh boy! What this is doing here in this ancient-looking castle, I have no idea, but it's something I understand, I guess. I really feel that's a whole trick they really missed with the chaotics. I mean, you... Like, Big was originally supposed to be like this fairly simple everyman. I can imagine these two, Vector especially, being a bit more... Well, what was that zooming there? Yeah, a bit more of a cynical, actually, right-minded everyman. Like, you got them going up against giant water monsters and giant purple moons, and they're just like, what the hell is going on over here, Espio? No reward is worth this much. Nonsense. But yeah, regardless of which character's going for it, I still find this level to be, I mean, obviously it's the most memorable in the game for a lot of people, and, can't exactly blame them for it. Just, especially with some of the iconography as well, it's just generally a rather memorable level, which, especially with its gimmicks, it's just, I miss when Sonic levels had memorable levels like these. Well, that went fairly smoothly. And now we come to the biggest bugbear level I have with regards to Team Chaotix especially. The torches. Or should I say second biggest bugbear? Never actually realized there was a switch back there. Yeah, basically for this we have to extinguish all the red torches. And given how big this place is, it can be a bit of a pain if you happen to miss one. Still find a little bit off-putting that the first portrait you see in here is of Whale Island from the start of the game. It's like, what are you trying to say with that? Anyways, yeah, I probably should point this out now that we're actually starting to reach the end. I'm pretty sure the game definitely intended you to play these guys last, mostly because of how the last story goes, and generally some of the level layouts can get a little bit, as you can probably see, experimental. Not exactly gratingly difficult like Team Dark, but definitely a noticeable mix-up on levels, which is kind of why I would have preferred had they gone the more... What? Yeah, I would have preferred if they'd actually gone the more stealth route with it. You have to actually sort of test your knowledge of the levels. Just a thought. Just hoping we can actually hold on to that key, though. I imagine we can definitely take quite a bit of damage from the torches. Starting to run out of drink here. I think one of the more egregious things is, especially in this, the extra level, which is You might have noticed there's some blue torches flying around the place. You gotta extinguish those instead, and they are in... there are less of them, but they're definitely in quite some precarious places, like for example that one right there. Have fun trying to extinguish that one with Espio's Leaf Swirl. I'm not even entirely certain how he's supposed to get up there. I mean, I guess the, it isn't exactly a bottomless pit there, but it's still, quite concerning. Needless to say, a whole bunch of the blue torch placements here are a lot more... They're in places which are definitely a lot harder to reach, let's just put it that way. And it's definitely an interesting idea, it's just... an especially annoying one. Especially considering here we have like multiple of these blue torches to put out. Music here still bops though. And I can't remember where this flower actually leads. Oh yeah, it leads us to this endless corridor. With more of these blue torches, would you just expect it to just try and actually get up there to extinguish? I'm sure there is a way to, but it's generally a bit more of a pain compared to here. I do definitely quite like the atmosphere of this particular hallway though, where you just have the lightning outside. It's just generally quite cool in my opinion. Let me just check if there actually is like a pulley up here. No, there isn't. And if we do that, then the flower doesn't work, so we have to actually go back and do the teleport again. I do kind of appreciate though, just trying to mix up how you approach the level. I do kind of respect that actually. Now I'm fairly certain there was some sort of switch here. Aha! And like that just opens the door, which... voila! Straight corridor. Oh yeah, and there's that blue torch right there. Have fun trying to extinguish. Okay, so those blue torches in particular are quite easy to extinguish actually. It's more so... have fun trying to extinguish that one down there. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting that those shields are a lot more resilient. Okay. Imagine if those doors actually opened whilst you were trying to triangle jump and how annoying that would be. Let me just check. This seems like the sort of place where you'd have multiple, like... Nope, I guess we're going up. Doesn't seem so bad so far, but I'm just waiting for the penny to drop where it turns out I've missed a bunch. I saw you up there. Can I please just... game? Is there anything I can actually, Okay, I guess I just, had to hold it a little bit more. They're not coming this way, they're just wandering about, Charmy. Look at that, they're just gone. Do we actually get any power cores for our trope? There we go. Lovely. I do admit, as a kid, I did definitely find these torches fairly disturbing looking, mostly just the skeletal hand nature of them, and oh yeah, these guys. Can I actually get rid of their helmets with leaf swirl? Doesn't look like I can. Could have sworn that was definitely something, at least in the GameCube version, where you could use the tornado attack to get rid of the helmet on these guys. Don't make no sense to me why you can't do it now, SPO. I thought you were supposed to be the king of this whole operation. Yet here I am actually having to do all the muscle work. Also, can you explain what's happening with that portrait over there, SPO? If you're so high and mighty. I'm pretty sure that's just a texture issue, Vector. What do you mean texture issue? This ain't some kind of video game. Charmy, do you want to be the one to tell? No, I thought not. Okay, I think this is where we get a whole... Oh yeah, this is where you find a whole bunch of the blue torches in this whole situation, which is basically just like Amy's final leg, where the whole thing is, find the right way through. You didn't choose the right one, too bad. Just go find another, I guess. Oh hey, another key. That'll be useful later. Okay. Seems as though we're 3/4 of the way through, which is nice. Not sure why there's just blue frames just there on the floor. Can we, Slab, I need you to fall. Slab. Am I gonna have to sit underneath you for... Am I just stuck now? There we go. Nope, you're not leaving me behind this time. Oh yeah, this part. This is definitely one of the parts which definitely messed me up a little as a kid with this level. Really one of the two things which freaked me out about this version of the level in particular. As I imagined as a kid, the fact there's a giant spider web must mean, as a result, there's a giant spider around here somewhere. Obviously that turned out not to... I'm so glad that I didn't fall off there. Flight form really is like a godsend in these particular sections. It really seemed like the sort of place where you just expect to find a giant spider to just chase you around this thing, just really incite the terror, and yet there is no giant spider in this game as far as I'm aware. Oh yeah, and this might actually be the first time I actually get to showcase. The fact that SPO's invisibility means he can go through these lasers and not be harmed by them. It's a neat little tidbit which we never got much of a chance to actually showcase. Okay, then we go down here into the fairly disturbing looking void here. It's nice that the torches down here actually extinguish with reflections as well. I like the little effect there, even if it is just they spawn another one down here. And then you go through here, and all of a sudden you're just in this white void, which looks weirdly grey in this particular version, but for me, in playing this on GameCube, it was all just white, and it was just nothing like anything I'd ever seen in this game. And I'm pretty sure this was the first version of this particular Mystic Mansion void area that actually sin, so needless to say, got a little bit freaked out by it. Not sure what's going on with the textures in this place in the PC version, though. 10 minutes! Yeah, needless to say, some of these levels can go on a little bit. Oh wait, I remembered, I actually kept a key. We get this cool little space effect. Will we actually be able to catch this Chaos Emerald though? Because I remember these last 3 emeralds being particularly hard to get, especially with all the mine placements. Like that, see? I don't want to say I completely messed up my run just from touching a single mine, but might very well be the case. Hey! Yeah. That's 6 emeralds, so all that's missing now is... Oh, you gotta be kidding me! I forgot the 5th emerald in the jungle. As if it wasn't obvious already that that client was Eggman. Anyway, here's my biggest bugbear with Team Chaotix, the story in general. Robot Storm in particular, for one very specific reason, which will become very apparent rather soon, which... You would think, oh, it's just another one of these robot gauntlets, it can't be that bad, right? Just watch. Starts off fairly normal. I'm just gonna save the Team Blast for now, I think. Alright. Guess we're just gonna have to resort to that, and yeah, let's just use Team Blast here, we'll get it back soon enough anyways. Look at that, look at all that munga. That mungi. The moons. Are those like silver versions of like the gold pawns? Yeah, Thundershoot should be able to make quick work of these guys without much an issue. Yeah, we'll just take the Candace fly formation, let's just move on. So yeah, fairly standard stuff so far. Generally, nothing out of the ordinary for any particular one of these endurance things. I mean, I guess it's better than the team fights, but at the same time, it's not particularly interesting. Here we go, starting to get a little... How dare you interrupt me? Anyways, yeah. Okay, let's use our newly refurbished Team Blast to just get rid of these 3. It's a weird thing though, compared to the others, you're kind of incented to use this Team Blast on lots of smaller enemies rather than just the big ones, because just to get it back all that much quicker. Here's where things start to get a little problematic though. This whole setup. The whole thing here is that you need to use the cannon in order to destroy all the robots here, which, granted you have all the dash rings here in order to make things a little bit easier, but needless to say, it's gonna take you a little bit to just get through all of these. Basically turning this into Sonic's equivalent of Space Invaders. In a way that actually makes the shoot 'em up sections in Frontiers actually look good by comparison. Needless to say, when I come back to Heroes, this is the part which I generally don't look forward to. I mean, I'm making it look fairly simple as is, but especially as a kid, I absolutely hated this part, especially those mini-hawks, which have to beam absolutely precisely. Like here, I'm gonna miss my chance. Get him, Charmy. Yeah, that's, okay, so now we're just waiting on that mini-hawk to show up. Need to be a little bit more, leading of my shots, it seems. There we go. Alright, what else have you got for me? If I can handle that, I can handle anything. Come on, Egmont. Okay, I think we're just gonna lead on to the general grand finale of these. I definitely like how grandiose this last stage is, even if it just ends the same way. Oh yeah! Truly amazing! Doesn't it just bring a tear to your eye, SPO? Vector, I'm incapable of crying. Oh, this is pretty interesting, though. This is, I was gonna say it's quite new, seeing this, Egg Warlock here, but... Oh, wow, that was quite a lot of them. How'd you like that, XBO? If that was easy, I'd hate to see normal. Oh, come on. Oh, come now, Vector. We did perfectly fine that round. Including the Space Invaders. Look at that, C rank. You expect us to get through that whole Space Invaders section in, like, no time flat? I mean, I could have certainly done it. Of course you could have done it, SBO. Because you're so perfect. Well, tell you what, I'm the leader of the Chaotix, and I say we finish this once and for all. We're gonna get through this, no matter what it takes. I mean, we were gonna do that anyway, Vector. I don't need you talking down to me, SPO. Hurry up and finish your job. I almost forgot that this was the other stealth mission. Yeah. Needless to say, the whole thing about this level is that you once again have to try and stealth your way through, which actually has you utilizing this fan, which normally you just have no reason to utilize, which again is an aspect I like about the Chaotix levels, utilizing parts of the level which you normally wouldn't be able to. Well, I kind of screwed that up. Oh, there was an item over here. That's another thing as well. I definitely kind of missed the more modern monitor look here. I get that it was basically trying to modernize. You're a bee, you're supposed to be used to flying, ain't you? Anyways, yeah, I definitely like the more modern capsule look here. definitely trying to recapture the TV monitors in a way which actually works well in 3D, but I feel for what it's worth they managed to pull it off. I also love how this place just has, like, actual missile batteries in them, and yet they never get used in place of the comically large cannons. I think it's cool that they're here, I just appreciate if they actually were used. It's gonna pop invisibility just in case. No! Well, I guess that's a sort of confirmation that they're all automated and controlled by robots, but it doesn't exactly explain the question of where exactly they get all the resources. Also, it seems to be heavily implied that you're supposed to go around to these platforms here. Again, another aspect of the Kellogg's, the normal levels which barely gets used. It's a shame, really, because I feel if we'd got more levels like this in Frog Forest, generally speaking, gameplay-wise at least, I feel the Chaotix would definitely be a bit more received as just having more interesting levels rather than just glorified fetch quests. Leave this to me, boys! Look at that, they never saw me! SBO! SBO, what are you doing to us, SBO? Ah! I guess at the very least these guys don't have shields, so I can just quickly pick away at them. And somehow they don't notice that they're under attack from an invisible force. I'm just hoping that for this next level we won't have to rely too much on the Team Blast, since it is just another collection level. Okay. Look at that, SBO, that's how you do stealth! And what do you call what we're about to go up against here? Have fun with that, SBO, we're just gonna be over here relaxing and all. I don't remember the cannons being this aggressive. What are these iframes? I remember the iframes in the past being a lot more generous. Anyways, yeah, it seems as though, thanks to levels like this and Mystic Mansion, we are gonna go a little bit over time, but that's fine. We're nearly at the end anyway. SBO, please! Yeah, no idea how you're supposed to break these with SPO, to be honest. I'm guessing you just gotta, switch the vector, break one, swap back. Switch. Vector! Vector, I need your help! Vector! Vector, break one, switch back. Well, we technically did it, Vector. What was that about being stealthy? I don't need to hear this sass from you. think these switches are technically optional. Still a nice little tidbit though. I think we're getting near the end. You know, let's go Vector's route. Check this out! Yeah! I think you're supposed to use the, I know, I just wanted to be cool about it. Nom. Like that's how you do it, SVO. Alright, no need to be a show-off. I think... Where is it? Oh. There's just an E2000 here for some reason. Okay. Any way of bypassing this thing? Guessing there's a switch somewhere which I can press to just delete this thing. Let's have a mosey around. A little bit of a nose. Doesn't look like it. I guess we're just gonna have to pick it off slowly. In your own time, I guess. Isn't this just riveting? Just... Yeah, needless to say, I'm not exactly, I don't exactly enjoy fighting the E2000s too much. And they're definitely well-designed robots in terms of countering you, but at the same time, I feel they overstay their welcome. Like, yeah, they can block your attacks, but I feel it definitely work better if you, they're a bit more frail behind the shields. Anyways, that's Egg Fleet over and done with, which just leaves Final Fortress. I'm blaming you for that, Vector. Shut up, SVO! Yeah, that was a bit of a poor display on my account. Anyways, Final Fortress. Kind of weird that they don't consider extra mission for this to be the final mission as well, but... Needless to say, this level is fairly simple in how you progress through it. You just gotta find 5 more keys. Anything up here? Nope. Music's still pretty cool though, but... I will admit, compared to the other Final Fortresses, the fact that you're just looking for keys here, it feels weirdly subdued compared to the others. Like, every other character has to deal with, you know, massive loops and lasers and massive giant robots, but... Chaotix is just looking for keys. How do you like that? Could have sworn there was a key somewhere around here. Needless to say, I feel as though at this point I may have to try and gather the emeralds off stream for what I have planned. Like, basically, to summarize it, I definitely plan on trying to do Last Story after Team Rose, since it's technically the shortest one. Alright, in your own time, buddy. Alright, I don't expect to hold on to this particular key, so I'm just gonna... Yep, there it goes. Just gonna wail on it. There we go, that wasn't so bad. Well, I mean, I would definitely like to, if I ever do come back to this at some point, I would definitely like to see a, more retranslated mods. Because right now we've just been listening to the English subtitles for the English dialogue as opposed to a proper translation of the Japanese dialogue, which is kind of interesting how many people I've come across which weirdly just seem to prefer the English version. I guess it's just more the one they're most used to. That's what makes sense to me at the very least. Me personally, I just like the consistency of having the exact same voice cast. Like, we have the same Sonic, the same Knuckles, the same Amy, basically, from Adventure 1, and they've only really had to replace voice actors when they really needed to, like most notably Tails, with the fact that they had to keep getting kid voice actors with each recurring game, so they just decided to get a female voice actor in Heroes, and that's the one we stuck with since. And of course, Eggman's voice actor, for obvious reasons. So it's kind of a shame though, I really did love his Eggman voice. And the new one's fine, it's definitely difficult to tell the difference, but once you notice it, you really do notice it. Alright, I guess we're just gonna have to deal with this E2000 the hard way. At least this time I actually get to use Power Form. And chew for its health a little bit more. You know what, for you, I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna save the Team Blast when we actually come across something a bit more meaty. Espio, could you please just make it through that shield? Okay, so it's not... so you can actually take advantage of the fact that it's facing in one direction. For some reason that never occurred to me. Why the heck does Eggman have self-destruct buttons on his own ships? Oh yeah, and I forgot, I almost forgot that the Chaotix had to deal with the lasers as well. You said blue laser, I said not blue laser! Okay, so I guess I was wrong about, it not being omnidirectional. I guess I can just, die, I suppose. Okay, this setup, though, is actually kind of cool. Triangle jumping with the cannons. Definitely feels like something you expect of a Final Assault level. Reminds me of something you might have seen in The Last Tower and Final Horizon. Which, in hindsight, playing around with it a little bit more, I tried to like it, but honestly, I feel especially compared to a vanilla game, it really is kind of a letdown in both a story sense and a gameplay sense. We're just... even after the changes, not exactly being the most balanced in terms of fun factor. And a story which basically takes the thematics of the original ending with the characterization of the end and what it represents and how it relates to Sage, and sort of just tosses it in out the window in favor of just cool looking boss fight, which, yeah, it was definitely cool looking, but that was all there really was to it. Again, is there a laser to this? Nah. I think we could just Team Blast here. Oh, I don't have a Team Blast. Why do you do this to me? Okay, it's over, and we can at least try for the red emerald. If we don't get it this time, then, well, I was expecting it. I am notoriously bad at this particular special stage. Let's see just how bad I've gotten since. I mean, I've definitely managed to complete this before in the past, but again, historically bad at it. I say that I'm definitely gonna fail at it, and it just completes in instant. Oh! Okay. Okay, that was actually kind of funny. And we wrap it up with Espio's whole Chunibyo shtick, which... It's kind of weird that I never mentioned it up until now, Espio's whole Chunibyo thing in this game. I definitely miss it from his later iterations where he's just kind of boring in forces, and then in like Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog where he's actually given some form of characterization. He's just written to be weirdly OP to the point where he actually has mind-reading powers, which I suppose it was, when I first played it, was more just sort of a case of me being amazed, like, wow, these characters are actually here and they're actually interacting and doing things. Even if it doesn't exactly make the most sense when you actually dig in and think about it from a character standpoint. You can hear me just clacking on the controller, just waiting for his health bar to absolutely melt. And he's immediately gone and within 50 seconds. Oh boy. So, definitely wasn't expecting it to go that way. I'm certainly glad it did, but needless to say, that was Team Chaotix. Not as bad as I was expecting it to be for the most part. It's kind of weird that Vector and Espio are the few of these CG models which actually have like textures to it that aren't plasticine. Look at it, it looks like it actually has scales and such. So how did Espio not figure this out when he's supposed to be the detective? I mean, I guess he's been retconned to be a ninja because, well, nobody played Knuckles Chaotix. Ah, yeah. No, wait, please, I'm allergic! And Eggman died right in that room. So, yeah. Generally, I suppose, wrapping up my thoughts on the campaign, definitely, a lot of the arguments against why the mission design is bad is warranted, but as you probably said, at least the normal levels weren't nearly as egregious as, well, I was certainly expecting from what I remember of them. In terms of the Chaotix characters themselves, I feel that even in the more modern interpretations with the comics and such, they've been horribly mishandled. I mean, I guess at the very least they have something going on with them in IDW, which is more than what was given to us in at any point in the 2010s, but much like everything else in IDW, from what I've seen at the very least, it seems all just, once again, surface level. Just, here's a story with these three characters, which are usually grouped together and doing a thing. Like, it's one thing which I've also seen pointed out with IDW and more recent Sonic media at large. It's just, I feel it's arguably one of the biggest curses the legacy of this game has had on the whole series, where it's just, we have these subsections of characters where they're just put together in like these neat little boxes, and they only bounce off of those particular characters in particular, and I feel the Chaotix are the perfect example of that, because they're just established as more just sort of a big package deal. And you don't really get much in terms of how they bounce off of any of the rest of the cast. Like, could you imagine, say, Vector interacting with Sonic, or SBO interacting with anyone aside from the Chaotix? Because it's something that you, even in more modern terms, you'd very rarely see. But I feel the closest we really got to that was in X, where, again, the Chaotix was just this comedic force just coming in and derailing the entire story, like with, well, both their appearances in the Meta saga in particular, where their whole shtick is usually based on a bigger misunderstanding, and they bounce off the cast and how the misunderstanding is portrayed. Like, I suppose the Romance episode between Tails and Cosmo, they had come up with all these harebrained schemes in order to try and get Tails and Cosmo together, and none of them work. Like when they knock out Knuckles and write Sharpie all over his face. I definitely miss that aspect of the Chaotix. And generally I feel that as the main comic relief characters of this series, along with their especially bonkers theme song, which always brings a smile to my face, they could definitely be utilized better in that role, and especially with how they bounce off the rest of the cast with their various delusions of grandeur, let's just say. I feel that's a good way to sum the Chaotix. They all have delusions of grandeur in one way or another. We've got Vector with this whole shtick about wanting to become this great detective, even though he's usually way in over his head. You got SBO, of course, with his Chunibyo tendencies, and you got Charmy, which is just completely zonked out, space-brained. I feel there's just a whole bunch of like fun potential there, which I don't see being portrayed in official media anytime soon. Like, generally speaking, I feel the Chaotix have definitely gotten a lot more love in the certain fan circles, with various crazy scenarios, like Vector becoming the head of like Pizza Hut. I remember that being pretty classic back in the day, but needless to say, I've rambled on long enough. Next time we'll be going with Team Dark. Seems to make the most sense to me. And we'll see how Shadow's been dealing with being dead after Adventure 2. But until then, I'll see you then. Take care, bye-bye. And my software wasn't picking up my microphone again. Fantastic.